This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Careful you don't rent your house to scammers, warned St. Mary police. Alleging that several lottery scammers are seeking refuge in St. Mary, head of the police division in the parish, Superintendent Bobette Morgan Simpson, has appealed to property owners to be wary of people seeking houses to rent. What we find is that there are a lot of scammers in St. Mary, Morgan Simpson disclosed at a meeting of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation last Thursday, noting that her officers had recently apprehended two alleged scammers who both were now before the court. We have been doing coordinated roadblocks across the parish, and they have been bearing fruit. Last week, we actually arrested two men who were found with lead sheets. Based on certain things, their phones were requested, and we found that there were lead sheets in their phones with names of persons from overseas, she said. Superintendent Morgan Simpson cautioned that heightened police operations, such as the Zone of Special Operations, have forced many criminals to flee parishes known to have a reputation for scamming. The zozos that are going on in other parishes push out the criminals, and they are trying to find softer parishes to go to, and St. Mary is one of those parishes that they have selected to be their alternative area of residence, the senior crime fighter added. She warned that these arriving scammers are opting to rent properties, sometimes from unsuspecting people who can become victims of serious crimes. They have money, they will dangle the carrots, and the people will be willing to rent these persons. But you really don't know what is going on behind the closed doors, Morgan Simpson declared. You have to be very careful who you rent your property to. Remember that when they broke one another's foot, which is when the money is not shared properly and something goes wrong and they are going to take revenge, they don't care who is present. They just go ahead and do what they believe they have to do or they want to, warned Morgan Simpson. 3 gunned down in once quiet Lilliput St. James. Crime scene investigators were kept busy in sections of Lilliput St. James, where 3 people, including a teenager, were shot and killed by unknown assailants in 2 separate incidents on Saturday. Police identified the deceased, all of St. James' addresses: a 31-year-old laborer Akash Campbell of Gordon Crescent, Granville, 34-year-old farmer Leroy Service, also called the Brother and the Magic of Bobman Hill, Lilliput, and the 17-year-old unemployed Rashid Stewart of New England, also in Lilliput. The crime scene investigators were summoned to the community following the shooting death of Campbell, who was lowered from his motor car by a man who alighted from another motor vehicle and knocked on the driver's window about 4:30 p.m. As Campbell exited his motor vehicle, the man pulled out a handgun from his waistband and opened fire, hitting him multiple times, police said. He was subsequently transported to Falmouth Public General Hospital, where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. Police said the second shooting occurred about 9 p.m. when 2 men brandishing handguns pounced upon a group of people who were gathered near a bar in Lilliput and opened fire, hitting Service and Stewart. The gunmen reportedly chased Stewart, who collapsed after running onto a premises, and pumped several more shots into his body. Both men were rushed to the Cornwall Regional Hospital, where the doctors pronounced them dead. Councillor for the Rose Hall Division of St. James, Anthony Murray, offered condolences to the bereaved family members and bemoaned the deadly shootings that have been plaguing the Lilliput community in his division of late. I want to ask that if you have information, please pass it on to the relevant authorities so that they can do the necessary work that needs to be done to rid the community of this crime that is now plaguing the community, Murray urged. He also appealed to the police to be diligent in their investigation to bring the perpetrators of crimes committed in the community to justice. I know that it is impossible to put police at everybody's door or everybody's gate, but I am going to ask you to do your best to protect the law-abiding residents of Lilliput. We want to get back Lilliput to the state that it is known for, Murray told reporters at the scene. 30 more water shops to be established. Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Desmond McKenzie has indicated that the government is targeting the establishment of an additional 30 water shops in the next financial year to increase access to the commodity in several communities across the island. We are looking to start another one in Commodore Portland. There is one more to be done in St. Elizabeth. Then we will be focusing on the plains of Manchester. We will be putting another one down there. We are looking to roll out an additional 30 in the new financial year coming up, he said. Mackenzie was speaking with the news after a ceremony for the commissioning of a new water supply system in the Top Aberdeen community in St. Elizabeth recently. The project, spearheaded by the ministry through Rural Water Supply Limited, was done at a cost of $110 million. It also involved the construction of a solar hybrid water pumping station and a water storage tank and the installation of distribution and transmission pipelines. Mackenzie noted that similar projects will be undertaken in other communities across the island. The new water supply system stands to benefit some 1,600 residents in Top Aberdeen and its environs. Residents are required to apply to the National Water Commission to connect the service to their homes. Tufton urges proper disposal of face mask. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton is urging Jamaicans to properly dispose of used masks to prevent potential environmental hazards. Dispose of them in a way that preserves the environment. I have seen articles popping up globally around improper disposal and the mask ending up in waterways or the marine environment and so on, he noted. It is a dilemma, another side effect of the coronavirus pandemic and the response. Every action has a reaction, and so we have to balance at all times and manage the process, he added. Tufton was speaking at the handover of 2 million masks to benefit schools, frontline personnel, community responders, and other vulnerable groups at the Pegasus Hotel in Kingston on Friday. Regional Environmental Health Officer for the Southeast Regional Health Authority concurred with the minister, noting that improper disposal of masks contributes to the degradation of public health in general. There can be droplets still in the mask, which would be dependent on a time factor, but also just the proliferation, the tonnage of waste which left indiscriminately will also pose a problem to the environment and the public health in general, he said. He said that used masks should be bagged and placed in proper garbage receptacles where they can be transported to an established place that disposes of waste. New Firearms Act will not suffice in deterring gun crimes, said attorney. Attorney at law Nicole Gordon does not believe the proposed 15-year minimum sentence for persons found in possession of an illegal firearm will significantly deter gun crimes. Last week, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang tabled the Firearms Prohibition and Regulations Act proposing the change. But Ms. Gordon, speaking with the news on Sunday, said criminals in Jamaica are of the view that they are operating in a low-risk environment because the sentence alone simply can't address the issue. She argued as well that the government needs to take a holistic approach to stop the flow of firearms into the country, pointing to lack of sufficient border security, including the current situation at the formal ports of entry. My understanding is that a lot of illegal firearms come through our ports, she stressed. She also stressed that the government needs to implement an effective rehabilitation program in penal institutions to prevent ex-convicts from reoffending. Disabilities Act takes effect today. The Combined Disabilities Association has observed that while changes cannot be expected overnight, today holds great significance for the community with the coming into effect of the Disabilities Act. The Act was passed in Parliament in October 2014, but the regulations were not approved until late last year. According to Gloria Goff, Executive Director of the Combined Disabilities Association, now that the law is in force, the government and others accountable for ensuring the rights of the disabled can now be held accountable. The Disabilities Act is expected to help reduce discrimination against persons with disabilities and ensure their rights to education, employment, health, access to public passenger vehicles, housing, and to participate in political office and the public life. Special accommodations must now be made to allow persons with disabilities to participate in all aspects of public life, Mrs. Goff told the news. The requirements are not meant to be onerous, however, she stressed. Policeman on rape charge denied bail. A policeman who was charged last week with raping his former girlfriend was denied bail when he appeared before the St. Catherine Parish Court on Friday. The policeman was charged on Wednesday following a ruling by the Director of Public Prosecutions. His case has been transferred to the gun court after it was alleged that the woman was raped at gunpoint. Investigators reported that in December last year, the constable visited the woman's home in Portmore and committed the act. A complaint was filed with the Center of Investigation of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse. The policeman is to return to court on February 23. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.